Welcome back, guys. Today's episode is designed to make you a champion, whether that be in sport, in business, or in life in general. These are my 5 components of the champion mindset. The champion mindset is designed to make you unbeatable, untouchable, and always keep you at the top of your game. Welcome back. This is the New Elite Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Hopkins, and let's begin with component number 1. Component number 1 is a mindset shift. This mindset shift is that challenge is a privilege. Challenge is not something that the champion shies away from. It is something that the champion seeks. The average man, the man that never achieves his potential in his life, is the man that runs away from challenge. It's the man that tries to find the easy way. And it doesn't take us very long to realize that doing this actually leads to a harder life. The champion chooses to suffer now, and his life becomes joyous, becomes victorious in the future, whereas the average man chooses to make life easy now, and in return, his life actually becomes much harder. And I discovered this when I was growing up. I wanted to, as every young man does, get rich quick, have loads of honeys and make a load of money and have a good time. And so I proceeded to start doing that, taking the easy option, selling things I didn't believe in at sales jobs after I'd watched Wolf of Wall Street, thinking I was going to get rich, essentially selling things that were scamming people. It was like bad doors and windows and insulation and all sorts of nonsense. And then I would go and rather than go and hit the gym or go and put my time and effort into learning, developing myself, I would go and drink and smoke and do all sorts of things and chase women and get my validation that way. And try and be this cool guy and try and be the champion to everyone else. But it's only yourself that you lie to. So I realized over time that my life was getting progressively harder. My mind was getting weaker. I could no longer even keep my room, my space clean. I could no longer have any happiness or joy in my life because I was not proud of myself. And the key to this is you use each day as a challenge and you run towards that challenge. And you use challenge as a tool to prove your champion mindset. Every challenge should bring a smile to your face. Every new obstacle to overcome makes you stronger. And every decision in your life becomes a choice of whether you would like to be a champion or whether you would like to go back to your original way of living. And this starts from the moment you wake up, from snoozing the alarm, from picking the donut over the healthy food or the eggs, to missing a session or not missing a session. Rather than thinking of these things as, oh my God, I've got so much to do today, you think of it as, fantastic. I've got so much to do today. I get to show myself today. I get to build my confidence today. And I get to show to myself that I am a champion, that I was built for this life and I was built to win. And that's how champions think about challenge. They do not run away from it. They run towards it. They seek it in everyday life. They find the challenges and they use them to craft the man that they want to become. And that's what I try to do now. That's what I'm doing with my fight camp. I'm training twice a day. I'm putting out more content than ever. I'm doubling down on my business. I use it as a challenge. I wake up in the morning with a full day with 10 hours of work to do plus training sessions, and I smile at it and I go, fantastic, that's good, I'm a champion. It's good I got the fucking champion's mindset, because otherwise other people find this fucking hard. But this is going to become easy for me. This is going to craft me into the man I want to be, the man with the glory. Now this brings me on to number 2. The second component of the champion mindset is that tiredness does not exist. It is simply a construct of the mind. When I was 21, I read a book that changed my entire view on tiredness, my entire view of how much I could do, my human potential as a man. Up until that point, and this happens to most of us, when you're in school, when you have a loving mother and father, unless you've been raised under special circumstances, you believe that you can overexert yourself, that you can overdo it. Take it easy. Don't stress yourself out. Stress will kill you. Don't work too hard, okay? You're a workaholic. Don't work too hard. You go in gym too much. You're wearing yourself down. No, what you're actually doing is you're becoming a champion. And I didn't realize this, but I read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, and he talks about his story, an incredibly difficult upbringing. And then the fact that he fell into a lifestyle where he became fat, where he became lazy, where he was eating fast food all the time, where he was looking for the easy option and he was depressed. And he got fed up to it. He had enough pain where he got to the point and thought, there's nothing worse than this. There's nothing worse than being this guy. I'm going to put myself through the ringer. He did Navy SEAL training, and then he went on to these ultra marathons. And there was a part in the book where he talks about running 100 kilometers and breaking his leg and pissing blood and never giving up with pretty much no training. And he takes you through the construct of his mind and how he thinks about it and how it builds his strength. And I read that book and it had a massive impact. I thought, wow, if he can do that, if he can overcome that adversity, there's nothing different between him and me. Why could I not do something like that? And so against everyone else's advice, I went and ran a marathon the next day. On the hottest day in the summer in the UK, I woke up in the morning, put some swimming trunks on for some reason. There's a video of this somewhere. And I decided to run my first ever marathon that I'd ever run in my life, furthest I ever run, on my own with no training. And I ran it in 4.5 hours. It was one of the most difficult things I'd ever done in my life. But all I repeated to myself time after time was, tiredness does not exist. Jack, you can go on. If you were going to die, if you didn't complete this marathon, you could go on. And I went on and I lost my toenails and I was an absolute wreck at the end. And I had to call my girlfriend and get her to pick me up from a park I was at, just laying on the floor. But that was a fundamental change in my life. This was something that before a week ago was impossible to you, has now shown you that you can do far more than you've ever expected. So the champion believes that tiredness does not exist. He does not get tired, and he pushes himself to a limit that other people think is strange, that other people think is unusual. And by doing that, you recraft your vision of yourself. You recraft the way you see yourself in your mind's eye, and this begins to impact your confidence in your entire life. This episode is sponsored by the New Elite, the #1 network for entrepreneurs around the world. If you want to connect with friends for life who push you to do better, make more money, and get in better shape, then you're missing out. You become the average of the person you spend the most time with. Imagine if you spent time with 4 millionaires, you quickly become the 5th. And that's what the New Elite is all about. We've built a membership of over 350 members around the world, all working together to build wealth, success, and status in the modern age. If you haven't checked out the New Elite yet, click the link underneath this video or go to www.newelite.pro. I'll see you inside. Number 3 is never show weakness. And this one I've learned recently through boxing. Boxing is a mental game. And I think of the analogy like this. If you were asked to get on a treadmill and start running at 10 kilometers an hour, and you knew you had to run 5 kilometers, it would be okay. It might be difficult, you might have to push through, it might be very hard for you cardiovascularly, but you know that the pain and the suffering will end. So you run your 5 kilometers and you make it to the end and it's okay. Now imagine if you got onto a treadmill and somebody told you that you would never get off, that they'll come in at some point at any time in the next 24 hours and tell you to stop. But until then, you have to run at 10 kilometers an hour. This is a very different type of pain. This is the pain of uncertainty. This eats most men alive. Most men cannot handle that. This is exactly what you do to others, your opponents, your adversaries, when you do not show weakness. When you're standing toe-to-toe with someone, and you might have hit them with your best shots, and they don't flinch, they don't show any weakness, even if they're in the utmost pain, even if they are about to give up, even if they are tireder than they've ever been, they do not show you. You feel like you're on that treadmill when you don't know when you're going to get off. But as soon as you give your adversary a hint of weakness, a sniff of weakness, he starts to see himself as being stronger than you. And this applies to every area of your life. The champion does not show weakness. He acts always with courage, because the acting of courage, the acting of fighting through, the acting of showing no weakness is in itself courage. That's what courage is. The people that you see that appear to take on life easily, that appear to have no challenge, don't have no challenge. They feel the same emotions as you. They feel like giving up. They feel like they're not good enough. They feel like it won't work out. They just don't show it. And what this does, it creates this persona that allows you the ability to steal other people's energy. to steal their life force. It allows you to take away their spirit. And I've experienced this in the ring recently. I've experienced this sparring. Got hit with some really big shots. I decided to shake them off, make a couple of noises. Ooh, you're going to have to do better than that. Come on, big boy, let's go. A smile on my face, jumping forwards. I might be very close to giving up, but they don't know that, and I've just stole your power. I've just taken it all away from you. So in your life, to act with courage is courage. To act like you don't feel anything. To act like you have no emotions. To act like nothing bothers you. That is being a stoic person. It's how you act when you feel emotions. It's not having no emotions. It's how you show them to the world. And a real man, I believe, has those emotions under control. He deals with them in his mind, and he does not allow them to show on the surface. And this is a lifelong pursuit. But the more you can do this, the more you realize you take everyone's power. If you just show up every day, other people are like, when's he ever going to fucking stop? I'm in competition with a fucking maniac. But you should know in your mind, if you're ever faced with a person like that, know that inside of them, there is weakness. Inside of them, they are going to quit. But they need to see that you're never going to quit. And that is the third fundamental of the champion's mindset. And that brings me on to number 4, which is emotional control. The stoic mindset, but a slightly different angle. There's a visualization technique that I use. I've been visualizing wrong in the past. And in my last fight, I visualized wrong how to have success. I visualized me getting a knockout in the first round over and over again. Unfortunately, that visualization sets you up for one scenario, which is still unlikely to happen. If it does happen, fantastic. You visualized it and you made it happen. Often that doesn't happen though. So now my visualization technique is actually to visualize the absolute worst case scenario for anything. To put my mind through hell, to suffer in my mind before the event. To visualize the worst case scenario, but to see yourself as a man strong enough to deal with that scenario. To visualize a fucking 12-round war in the boxing ring, where you barely make it out with your life, but you are still victorious. You never show weakness. To see yourself as that character. To see yourself through all the suffering, all the pain, everything going to shit, rising up and becoming the champion. Because life is not going to be easy. The best case scenario happens sometimes, but not often. If you can imagine and get comfortable with the worst of the worst, and still see yourself with emotional control, then you become powerful. Then you have lived more suffering in your mind than you'll ever live in reality. Pain is inevitable in life. Suffering is optional. I choose to suffer in my mind. This is what the Spartans did. The Spartans would suffer in their mind. They would be beaten and abused and bullied, and they'd be told to think of the worst case scenarios. They'd be told to demotivate. And they would fight through when they trained. And then when they got to the harsh reality, the brutality of war, they were ready and prepared because they had never trained for best case scenarios. They had never trained for this to be easy. They had trained for it to be hard. And when they were confronted with the brutality of war, they were not shocked. They were able to deliver. And you can do this in every aspect of your life. And the fifth and most important component of the champion mindset is relentless discipline. As soon as a champion believes that his work is done, that he no longer needs to work hard because he has become champion, he no longer has the champion mindset, and he will very soon cease to be champion. And this is the hardest thing to manage. This is the hardest thing to deal with, to realize that the work never ends. When you arrive at your destination, when you achieve your big goal, to double down, to fall in love with the process, to realize that a champion is never made, a champion is never finished, a champion always does one more. A champion always continues his pursuit of excellence. That this is daily war, this is not a destination. And to try and find the love for the game, the love for the challenge. And if you can do that, if you can think about all of this as the feeling that pats you on the back when you get into bed at night, when you think about it as not what did I achieve today, but what obstacles did I overcome and how did I conduct myself, not did I have my biggest day in business ever and only sleep well when that happens. You might have your biggest day of business ever, but you might have had no discipline that day. And you might pat yourself on the back and have a good night's sleep. That's wrong. The result is irrelevant. How you turn up day in, day out is what should allow you to sleep well at night. And you should have anxiety. When you get into that bed and you realize you didn't conduct yourself as a champion, that's when you notice the problem. And you wake up and you do it all again. And when you sleep at night, you realize the champion is never finished, that it has to be won and battled for each and every day. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you can use those tips in your own life, in your business, in your work, in your training, in your fitness, in your boxing, to become a champion, because there is nothing greater. Most men have no purpose in their lives because they have not decided to commit themselves to the daily art of becoming a champion. And if you do that, nothing can faze you. You will not need praise, and you will not need a pat on the back from anybody, because you will love you for being a champion. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. See you on the next one. Whoop-ow!